Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Leadership Void podcast. Today, I am fortunate. I served with his brother in the Navy, but now we got him on the podcast. Vince, I'm gonna let you introduce him, but I'm ecstatic.
Well, yeah, it's my pleasure. We are now in episode 61, the middle of the year. And ladies and gentlemen, we continue our lineup with dynamic speakers. Today, we're joined by Raymond Kemp, who is the CEO and founder of Chem Solutions in Dallas, Texas. So thank you for joining, Raymond. First, tell us a little bit about you.
So I'm very pleased, first of all, to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I am sitting in a place that I grew up. I'm at my aunt's house in Oklahoma, which is where I grew up. I joined the Navy and spent 33 years leading, guiding, impacting hearts and minds, and fighting a good fight for our nation. And have just recently retired after 33 years and moved to Texas. I started my naval career as a data processing technician, aptly name changed to information systems technician by the time I retired. And when I retired, I was the Fleet Master Chief of U.S. Navy, Europe, U.S. Navy, Africa. So once again, that's really me in a nutshell. I got 4 children, a family that's in the expanse, brothers and nephews and nieces and all sorts of good folks that bring me forceful back up through my life. So pleasure to be here.
Outstanding. And look, I was with you while you were serving. I saw you go up the ranks. Such a pleasure to see such a great human being not only excel at what he was doing, but excel Navy-wide. And so congratulations on that. I know I've said it before. But before we get into all the great leadership things that we're going through, tell us a little bit about Chem Solutions.
Well, I'll tell you what, our nation right now is really challenged. And we look at some of the social injustice that's going on. We look at that peculiar insurrection that's happened on 6th January, coming out of COVID. And as the nation is concerned with getting values aligned across, companies are as well. So Chem Solutions, our intention is to help companies align their business practices with their employees and get their employees to be in line, of course, with their mission, vision, and guiding principles. And so Chem Solutions does that by helping our organizations find a better way to build teams, challenging the status quo and conventional thinking, so that it builds a measure of resilience to ultimately, help people, lean back and cover down.
That's amazing. Definitely. And in these days, we definitely need more leadership, different mentality, different dynamic, and diverse groups to challenge the status quo. So I appreciate what you're all doing out there. So how is Kemp Solutions currently holding up in this current pandemic and this world that we live in today?
Well, my biggest intention is to stay relevant. The organizations, so what we bring different than most leadership teams is that we've got this Navy career behind us, and that allows us to look at things in a different way. What we've been fortunate to be able to do is stay relevant by paying attention to what's happening in the news, as well as some of the changes that are going on with regard to the perspective of leadership. So we just recently qualified the Resilience Building Leadership Program, got the certificate for that, and are qualified to train folks to move on and get their training certificate as well. We also just on May 18th joined the Why Institute to become why coaches. And so we'll be able to help people find their why, how, and what. And so you probably remember that book by Simon Sinek, Start With Why. He didn't have exactly a way to start with why. Well, and most people don't either. Enrique, you remember we used to help people understand that in the Navy, every rating, every profession, every MOS leads to lethality. So if you're a stew burner, if you're a box kicker, if you're a computer dude, you're as relevant as a person who's squeezing the trigger or dropping the bomb from the aircraft. And so when you know what your personal why is, oh, well, that just creates a whole nother environment to one, prepare you for how you look at things and to reason with yourself on how to be better, and then explain to others as you're coming in, you know, this is my why, this is how I execute my why, and this is the what, which is the impact for that. So super excited about that new thing. But that's a long way of saying, Vince, that we're doing well, staying excited, you know, as we claw into the ground and climb up the mountain of a better place for our nation.
That's amazing. You know, the why is the true uh, key to the end of the mission, right? And that's so we've seen that many times play out, and so important to life and profession. So tell us a little bit about your vision. What's going on in the future with Chem Solutions, and what you guys have in store.
Well, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to do speaking events in person, because primarily it is myself, and I've got a team of folks that give a high level of support. But it's primarily me going out and speaking in organizations, kind of like a leadership evangelist. Hey, apply these things, and hallelujah, things will become better. Watch, and then the callback normally is, okay, exactly how do we do that? And then that's when myself and a couple of the team members may fly out, talk to the C-suite, talk to their frontline leaders, talk to middle management about, you know, okay, how do you apply, you know, these things? And so into the future, this year, I'm looking forward to getting back to where we are, you know, naked face and shaking hands successfully for a fist bump and whatever our new means of salutation is. But deeper into the future, man, you know, what I would like to do is have Kemp Solutions become a household name, and the source of how we are changing the world from the workplace out. So imagine people go to work and they're treated with a high level of dignity and respect. They get along well, they communicate at a high level, and then they go home and they do the same thing, treat each other with dignity and respect. We get rid of this domestic violence nonsense that has been created by some social dynamics. And then we go to the grocery store, we go to the mall, we go to, you know, wherever social places or organizations that we might be a part of. Again, treating people with dignity and respect, and we change the world. And so I look forward to doing that. I've got, you know, friends from my naval career that are on various different continents, and I look forward to visiting them, playing some golf, and talking about leadership.
Well, I will put it out there. It will be in all seven continents before we know and beyond. So
And beyond, my man.
best of luck to Kemp Solutions. Let's transition because 33 years is a huge milestone in any branch of service, and that perpetuated your own dynamics of your own leadership. Let's start off with your professional development. What development areas do you work on to improve your capabilities as a leader?
Well, you know, right now, what's really exciting to me, and if I could just back up, Vince, I did. I pressed through the normal leadership opportunities and requirements that were in the Navy. I also had the amazing, still impacting my life today, opportunity to go to the U.S. Army Sergeant's Major Academy, and made friends amongst the 600 and some odd students in over 40 countries of folks who were there as I went through that in El Paso, Texas, just about a school year. And so that you know, in the uniform, I got that. But you know, what's really interesting to me now are some of the softer soft skills. And so mindset is a very uh, powerful perspective to look at things from when it comes down to talking to people about ways to cope with some of the challenges that may be happening, as well as some of the celebrations that go on. So for me, I'm a part of a couple of book clubs. I am on a couple of boards of organizations that have nothing to do with the Navy. And it allows me to read, to interact, and hear different perspectives than what would be natural to a military member, and certainly what would be natural to a Navy member. So what I'm doing is copious amounts of reading and having conversation with folks as I can, just to expand my perspective. Because someone once said, and I believe, that knowledge of one thing is ignorance. And so I just want to expand my level of knowledge so that I can flex and help people find a better way.
Outstanding. And I know that a lot of people listening today are not at the 33-year mark, right? They're not at the fleet level. They're just coming along. They're just started, and then, undoubtedly are looking for ways to get to that fleet master chief level, that pinnacle of leadership, and are emerging, right? That's what we refer to as emerging leaders.
Right.
What advice did you get growing up in the Navy, growing up as a leader, that you could share with them that will help them today?
One great piece of advice was from a gentleman by the name of Fred Hyde. He was one of my chiefs as I was making my way through my career. Served on board Abraham Lincoln, and he told me, he said, and I'll use my language, not his. He said, "Hey, we've pretty much done all we can for you. So you need to just stop being a punk, study, and take some ownership." and stop thinking that where you're standing is where you should be, because you've got more in you than what you're expending right now. And it took me about a year to really hear that. What he told me essentially was, if you plan to elevate, you've got to do the work of the climb. You're not just going to miracle your way someplace. And you ought not, because my initial goal, and I don't say this too often, but it's a fact. I joined the Navy to make E5 so that I could retire and come back here to Oklahoma. Other than my uncle, the only people I had known that served in the Navy made it to E5. And that at that point, you could retire at that pay grade. And I was like, I'm good. 6 years in, I'm straight. I'm good. I'm good. No, I'm straight. 8, 9 years in. Now I got my daughter had been born. I was like, And my chief was like, look, you've got it in you. All you have to do is, apply yourself and study and kind of get over some of those personal challenges. So it's a long way of saying, a little longer answer than you're probably looking for. But what I would say is, to take on the responsibility of learning all you can about your profession, about your rating, and give it all you've got. And there will be a measure of fulfillment and satisfaction no matter where you end.
Absolutely. That's the foundation of your why. It's definitely so. But what I wrote down is, that take ownership and do the work of the climb, is so important. And you mentioned personal challenges. So let's dive into that. How do you handle those challenges you face or currently facing?
Well, thankfully now, I've got several coping mechanisms that allow me to keep my chill, subdue my gangster, if I may. And what ends up, because the challenges were tough. Think about this, right? I joined the Navy in 1986. So the people who had 20 years in at the time were adults in 1966. And so you think about, the civil rights challenges and so forth that were going on at that time. Those were my leaders. So initially, and thankfully, I grew up in an environment of a high level of racism. So the first time a master chief called me something other than my name, that was very commonly used, a term that was very commonly used. It's so taboo now that we only recognize it by the letter that it begins with. So when he called me what is common to call the N-word now, meant nothing to me because your words aren't going to prevent me from getting anywhere. And so thankfully I grew up in an environment raised by my mom, my grandmother, my aunts. Were all just fierce angels, and they took no shiggity from anybody. And so that's who I was. I mean, I don't know how much of that was left on me when Enrique met me, but what I realized is that whenever people would say something, that was peculiar, then I just elevate and move on to prevent them from dissuading me or keeping me from whatever that goal may have been during that period of my career and my life. What I do now when it comes down to challenges is first thing I do is I realize that I am headed someplace special. And whatever this situation may be, especially if it's just a person, people really have no sway. But if there's a situation perhaps that I come upon, let's say a storm, then very much like a ship at sea, then I'll either accelerate and press on through, or I'll go around it. And when it comes down to perspective, thankfully, I've got that. And so when it comes to, so if there's a challenge, I guess to answer your question, Vance, is that when there is a challenge that is before me, I pause, take an intellectual look at what is going on, realize that it is absolutely not something that's going to be able to prevent me from getting to my goal, and then I press on towards the goal.
That's positive and powerful, both in the same word, in the same sense, because challenges are one of those things that will, for some, stump them. It will freeze you, and that will be it. And I'm one that has happened to. Challenges have come, and boom, you stop and you buckle down.
Right.
And so, but there's some others that through life and experience learn how to navigate those and even speak to it, and it stops. Right. So there's challenges, and then there's change, right? And you mentioned a little bit about how when you came in, undoubtedly you saw some change throughout the years, right?
Sure.
In not only in the world climate, but in the Navy climate. So if someone's facing change, um, and they're looking at that right now, what strategies would you give them to head those things head on?
Sure. With regard to change, when there is an opportunity to see the end, then that is the first thing that I would recommend. Okay, if there's a change that's coming, whether it be policy or procedure, whether it be social or personal or private, what is that change for? Because when you can reason with the why, something that we used to share, and I'm sure Vince, it was the same for you in your career. We would say that whenever a leader is upset with you for asking why, it's probably because they don't know why. And we're in an environment now where the playing field of information is just about flat. And so when it comes down to a change that may be coming, first and foremost, find out, okay, what's the reason for the change? What is the flexibility with regard to how we change? That is, do I have, what are my left, right, lateral limits? Do I have some maneuverability in here? Is it malleable? Can we just twist and change and make it more of a personal shift within an organization, or especially if it's just something for yourself or for your family? And then get committed to what the end is going to be. So take a good look at what it is, and find out what the reason for the changes, the goal, the apex of it all, and then figure out what the technique is that's got to be used to get there, and then just get after it.
I just want to say, Raymond, that you are running a great ship, and it's going in the direction north, and it's going to reach all hemispheres. So I thank you
Thank
for
you.
that. And elevate yourself, elevate your company, and elevate those around you, which you're currently doing. And for our audience listening in and so inquisitive and want to know more how to reach this fine gentleman, Raymond Kemp, or have Chem Solution come out to your organization, how would they go about doing that?
Well, on all social media, if you can follow me at Raymond D. Kemp, and I mean all social media, as well as Chem Solutions. And that's including on LinkedIn, RD Kemp on LinkedIn, or Chem Solutions. And of course, you can go to the website, which is www.kempleadership.com. And there is a place there if you'd like to set up a meeting, or if you'd like to get on my calendar, that's available. And certainly if you'd like to have myself come out and teach or train, or just to speak at your organization, we can certainly make accommodations to do so. We're really, really good on short notice as well. So up to you, but I hope that you are willing to find a better way to do business. No matter what you're doing right now, we can make it better. We look forward to the connection.
Absolutely. And we're going to make sure to have all that information as part of the video and the show notes so that you can get a hold of Chem Solution. Raymond, thank you so much for the time that you've shared with us and the information that you've shared with us, because I know there's a lot of people that are listening and will prosper in their future with what you just said. Now, folks, if you want to get a hold of us at the Leadership Void podcast, our email is theleadershipvoid@gmail.com, and you can send us any requests dealing with leadership, any topics you would like to listen to or hear or have someone discuss. And even if you had somebody in mind for the show, we would love to hear, and we will definitely curate that list and make sure that we get them on. But for today, it's been a pleasure, Raymond, Fleet Master Chief, that you've been with us, and definitely I have my clubs in the back of my car. So when you come down to Orlando, or I go to Dallas, so either way.
Yeah, I'll be there soon.
And yes, and also for those that are listening, we're trying to reach our 200 subscriber, and we're at 140. Please let us get there. If you just go to our YouTube channel, The Leadership Void, hit subscribe, you automatically enter into the drawing to win a great book by one of our former guests, Scott McGregor, Standing in Your O, the Salute Edition, which is military. It's a limited edition. We have an autographed copy of it. So just hit the subscribe button to reach that 200. Also, on the 1st and the 15th, we have Radio Check. It's our time to give back. It's our time to check in our brothers and sisters in, of course, this turmoil of either social isolation or injustice, or just you want to get away from what's going on out there. You want to be amongst your brothers and sisters in arms. We got your back. We got your six. 7 o'clock, 1900 Eastern Standard Time. Come and reach us. And next week, you're in for a special treat. So I won't divulge too much. You have to stay tuned again this Wednesday, and every Wednesday, we'll share some great knowledge, great feedback, and some dynamic guests like Mr. Raymond Kemp. So thank you, Raymond, for being here today.
My pleasure, my honor.